my entire professional career has been one bit of misbehaving after another. I've never been very good at coloring within the lines. This book is the culmination of a life of misbehaving and studying the misbehavior of others.
What do economics, psychology, and experimental science have in common? Most economists would say little to none, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Misbehaving is, first and foremost, a story of how modern economic, finance, and theoretical analysis have become increasingly specialized and narrow without substantial practical value. Utilizing empirical studies and anecdotes, funny stories, and even some jokes, Thaler persuades the reader that behavior studies or psychology-motivated discipline which focus on human, not mythical, rational agents, are here to stay. Richard H. Thaler, the author of Misbehaving, received the 10,000 pound sterling Financial Times and McKinsey Business Book of the Year award in 2015.
Richard Thaler is an American economist and the Ralph and Dorothy Keller Distinguished Service Professor of Behavioral Science and Economics at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. He is now the president of the American Economic Association. He has written numerous books. One of them is Nudge, Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth, and Happiness, together with Kazakhstan, named the best books of 2008 by The Economist. Misbehaving is chronicling Thaler's career starting in the late 1960s, when he began to take note of inconsistencies between the economics model, rational choice, and how people actually behave. The books are different in that Kahneman has studied human decision-making from a psychologist viewpoint, whereas Thaler's is from an economist perspective, with much of the focus on how his views differ from those of classic economists. While Misbehaving does not hold together as a unitary book, it combines different aspects of Thaler's work into a single, accessible volume. Central theme of Misbehaving and Thinking Fast and Slow is this distinction between normative and descriptive theories. Normative describe the right way to make decisions in terms of logically consistent approach to optimizing a goal. Meanwhile, descriptive theories attempt to characterize how decisions get made in practice, with limited information, affected by a variety of biases and often relying on imperfect rule of thumb.
Thaler draws a sharp distinction between real people who make mistakes, humans, and the fictional agents of economics whom he calls Econs. Econs are lightning-fast calculators who have access to complete information about every situation, understand all of the ramifications of their decisions, and make each decision with an eye to maximize utility, invoking a kind of enlightened selfishness. Humans don't behave like that, so it's sensible to question what would happen to economic theories and prediction if one drops the assumption that they do. That is the essence of Thaler's contribution to economics, and it's a valuable one. Thaler's classic example of the difference between Econs and actual human is when he is having a dinner party for fellow economics graduate students. Before dinner, he served some cashew nuts along with cocktails, and everyone kept eating them. Soon, their appetites were in danger, not to mention their waistlines. Thaler grabbed the bowl and hid in the kitchen. People were A. happy, and B. they realized their reaction conflicts with traditional economic theory. Econs are better off with more choices. We humans actually need help to controlling our impulse. This is where humans may need nudge. Too often, formalized economics is assumed to be a bulletproof system. However, most economic models neglect the study of humans and instead study econs. In times when models fail greatly, during financial crisis or simply in everyday life, economists brush off the criticism and errors by referring to the supposedly irrelevant factors or SIFs. What are some of these SIFs? Endowment effect. studies and experiments have shown that people value things that they already own or feel connected to or their endowment more highly than things that could be part of their endowment. Essentially, the more personal the decision, the less economic models can remain accurate. Behavioral economics and behavioral finance are based on the observation that people do not process information rationally. Instead, they suffer from cognitive biases, imperfections in the processing that cause people to believe things that aren't true, misunderstanding the consequences of even simple decisions, and act against their own interests. Thaler devotes several chapters to documenting these often amusing foibles. Thaler also discussed the concept of transaction utility, that is, the utility that someone enjoys when they experience a good deal and the pain that they suffer when they are ripped off, which goes beyond the standard economic assumption that only acquisition utility matters.
Historically, there have been opportunities to earn higher risk-adjusted returns by following certain investment strategies. For example, investing in small-cap value stocks. In Econ view, consistent with the efficient market hypothesis, is that such anomalies does not exist, but clearly they do. Chapters 22 and 23 of Misbehaving summarize research that Thaler did with Werner de Boon in the 1980s, proposing a behavioral explanation for the value premium. They started by noting the surprisingly high trading volumes in stocks, and they hypothesized that this resulted from investor overconfidence and overreacting to new information. Thaler's research on the value premium and overreaction in the valuation of individual stocks parallels Robert Searle's research on overall stock market overreaction, which led to his development of PE10, or cyclically adjusted price to earning ratio, as a predictor of long-term stock market performance. An often debated question is whether PE10 will continue to be a useful indicator. Econs argue that investment professionals will incorporate the PE10 effect in tactical investment strategies and arbitrage its predictive power away. The behavioral view is that such professionals are still human and will continue to exhibit the same biases in decision-making that have made PE10 a useful indicator historically. Thaler's research 20 to 30 years ago seems primitive compared to the much more mathematical performance attribution analysis being done today. However, history, including its countless market inefficiencies, keeps repeating itself, which supports the behavioral perspective. Behavioral economics is already put into policies such as to encourage more people to pay their taxes on time in UK. Meanwhile, in US, behavioral economics influenced tax cuts in the 2009 stimulus package, retirement savings policy, the individual mandate in healthcare reform, some aspects in the Dodd-Frank financial reform bill, and more. Government in Brazil, France, Australia, and New Zealand have incorporated behavioral research also.
Besides getting praise, Misbehaving and the authors have received some critics. First, it is an American-based Israel critical book because behavioral economics other than American do not get much attention. Second, Thaler celebration and needs unit in UK look premature. The idea of not being a place to communicator, but its operation often represented little more than another books for official critics.
And third, the ethic of using behavioral economics in policy from permission warrant further and close security. Thaler, clearly struck by charge of manipulation, states of several points in his books that most nudes are visible. But this defense misses the point. They may be physical visible, but reason why nudes are being used are not used always, or indeed often transparent. The moral and ethical side to behavioral economics such as whether it is right to nudes and whether it's used in public policy in avoiding behavior regulation that may be more appropriate have sparked controversy. Yet this Debates are important for broadening economic and this acknowledgement of moral and ethical side to economic research in outgroup as significant as the findings themselves.
Moreover, the critical and ongoing debate will be on the belief of workplace versus behavioral economics. Thaler oversees the evolution of conventional economy. A half-century ago, Milton Friedman famously argued that test of theory is accuracy in the prediction, not the realism of its assumption, and that principles still hold.
We don't have to stop inventing abstract models that describe the behavior of imaginary econs. We do, however, have to stop assuming that those models are accurate description of behavior and stop basing policy decisions on such flawed analysis. Libertarian paternalism is a relatively weak, soft, and non-intrusive type of paternalism because choices are not blocked, fenced off, or significantly burdened.